here's the first principle, very important. Anything that refreshes you without distracting you from, diminishing, or destroying your final goal in life is a legitimate pleasure. Anything that refreshes you without distracting you from, diminishing, or destroying your final goal in life is a legitimate pleasure. When they bent down to drink the water, they for a moment did not think they were doing anything wrong because it was a legitimate thing for them to be doing. Going to battle, take a refreshing drink of water. Now here's the catch in that, my dear friend. How do you know what is legitimate and will not destroy unless you know what life's purpose is first? Do you know, I was born and raised in India. My ancestors were Hindu priests from the highest caste of the Hindu priesthood. I had no interest in religion of any kind. I used to be dragged to church, and the only reason I even memorized the prayer book was that helped me to time how many minutes were left before I would leave. I could tell you when there were exactly 6 minutes left for the vicar to finish, and I was out of there. I was onto the cricket field after that, playing cricket. All that I rejected in my life took me at the age of 17 onto a bed of suicide. I lay in that hospital bed at the age of 17 with the doctor saying probably 4 or 5 days and he'll be gone. The poison was in my system. And you're lying there all of a sudden saying, you know, I didn't know how to live. I didn't even know how to die properly. Now I'm facing my family and having to explain what it is I've done and why I've done it. And a man brought me a tiny little red New Testament and handed it to me. I won't go into the details except to tell you it changed my whole life. And Jesus said these words, because I live, you also shall live. My challenge to you is find out what life is all about, and only then can you define what legitimate and illegitimate pleasure is all about. Any pleasure that jeopardizes the sacred right of another person is an illegitimate pleasure. Now, you know, we may think of this in so many ways. Can I apply it in my own life? I have traveled half my life. I'm on the road half the time. My son is here with me, and I have 2 girls and a boy, and my wife, Margie, and I, we've been married now for 36 years. Margie is from Canada. I met her when I was just 20. She was just 16 in Toronto, and 6 years later, we were wed, and God's been very good to us. If I had to redo my life, one of the biggest changes I would make is this. I would not travel nearly as much as I have done because I lost the most precious years of their young lives. It wasn't overtly done selfishly, but it ended up becoming that kind of a life where you actually jeopardize the sacred right of another human being in the process. And so I say to you, whatever pleasure you have, get your priorities straight. At the end of your workday, when you get back home, be with those who love you, who cherish you in spite of all of your flaws and all of your weaknesses. Love those who admire and treasure your love and friendship, and those who need to have the investment of your love in them. Because I'll tell you what, it'll go faster than you would ever imagine, and you'd look back in retrospect and say, that ought never to have happened. Billy Graham, I've talked to them personally, and Billy will say to you, if he were here, if he had to do it all over again, he too would cut down on the time away from the family that he did. Now, today, we live with these blackberries on our hips. We can't have dinner with a friend because somebody else is invading that privacy. You can't have dinner with the family because so many things are encroaching upon us and invading the most precious things in life that God has given to us. And so, gentlemen, I want to ask you, the places you go, the websites you navigate, the books you read, the pictures you see, you should ask yourself the question, what am I doing in this situation? Why am I seeing this? What am I doing this for? You see, the first cut that injects the blood into the stream, if it is HIV blood you are taking, you don't need to have a transfusion with that blood. A paper-thin cut, and you make contact with that kind of blood, and it can disease the blood permanently to take everything within you to resist disease. There are cuts we put in our souls. When you make contact with those that lead you into the wrong habits and the wrong way, I earnestly say to you, it is a remarkable thing that God has given to you and me, the image of God. And so I say to you, anything that refreshes you without distracting, diminishing, or destroying your final goal is a legitimate pleasure.